Good evening. It's Pastor Trish. It is Thursday, April 8th, and we are on Psalm 124 and 125 this evening. Again, you'll remember that many of these Psalms in this section of the book are a little bit shorter, so we'll do a couple again tonight. And we are doing the Psalms of Ascent or pilgrimage songs, songs that would have been sung or prayed by pilgrims, perhaps on their way to Jerusalem. So Psalm 124, actually, even as I say this, I'm thinking about this pilgrimage or this travel. Psalm 124 especially is the one that's caught my attention this evening. Let me just read it or pray it first. If the Lord hadn't been for us, let Israel now repeat, if the Lord hadn't been for us when these people attacked us, then they would have swallowed us up whole with their rage burning against us. Then the waters would have drowned us. The torrent would have come over our necks. Then the raging waters would have come over our necks. You can hear a little bit of repeating here. Likely it was used as a litany or liturgy. Again, the people would repeat after a leader. It goes on, bless the Lord because he didn't hand us over like food for our enemies' teeth. We escaped like a bird from the hunter's trap. The trap was broken, so we escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And I'm sure that last verse there, our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, is a familiar one to you. But as I was reading this psalm earlier, I was thinking about, this psalm to me looks backwards, right? And so it gives an example to the Israelites of a time when the Lord indeed saved them from disaster. And so if the Lord hadn't been for us, all these horrible things would have happened. But they didn't because the Lord was for us. And it got me thinking, um, hopefully you won't think this is too far out or anything, but it got me thinking about how sometimes we think about like guardian angels. You know, people will talk about my guardian angel must have been looking out for me, or God. More often, we might say God was looking out for me. And I just think about those circumstances, often coincidence, or it just happens that way. And I think about ones that have happened to me and or my family, and we think it could have been so much worse. And the funny thing is, for me, is that as I was thinking about that, many of them are related to travel. And this is a pilgrimage song. So that's where I'm like, huh, that's kind of, it is what it is, right? But I think about times, for example, when we've had car trouble. But that I can think of one time we were traveling on our way out to Colorado, and I don't remember what happened to the car, but we were in western Nebraska, and it was probably 5 o'clock on a Friday night, and the car like quit working, and we could just make it into the town. Ogallala is Nebraska. Is that the name of the town? Maybe my husband will remember. And we're like, what are we gonna do, right? But sure enough, we called somebody, and right downtown, somebody was still open. And they're like, we'll come fix you up. And they should have been closed and gone home by the time we got there, but they weren't. Fixed us up. We were on the road in an hour or two. Another time, our transmission, we thought it was our transmission, went out when we were in North Carolina. And there's a whole long story that gets attached to it. But the bottom line is, I'm like, oh, we're how many hundreds of miles from home? What are we going to do? It was a Saturday, again, not expecting people around. We managed to get to a station that was going to be open until noon. Turned out they had their transmission expert happened to be working that morning. Normally wasn't. Again, it wasn't our transmission, it was something else. And $300 later, we were back on the road and got home safely. And I've got more stories like that. And I think it happens in other ways too. You often hear people talk about how it could have been worse. Maybe it's coincidence, right? Maybe it's just circumstance. Or maybe it's as the psalmist here and the people who are praying this psalm think. Maybe it is indeed because our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. We don't know, but we trust and we believe, right? And we give thanks no matter what. So that leads us into Psalm 125 as well. It is a psalm of trust, and it talks about what it means to be a person who trusts in the Lord. So we'll end then with this psalm this evening. The people who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, never shaken, lasting forever. Mountains surround Jerusalem, and that's how the Lord surrounds his people from now until forever from now, like the mountains that surround Jerusalem. The wicked rod won't remain in the land given to the righteous, so that they don't use their hands to do anything wrong. Lord, do good to people who are good, to people whose hearts are right. But as for people who turn to their own twisted ways, may the Lord march them off with other evildoers. And finally, the last verse of this psalm simply says, peace be on Israel. Peace be on us. Peace be on you. May you know peace in Christ this night and in all the days to come. Thanks for joining me for a few minutes, and we will see you again next week.